Donald Trump did a town hall with George Stephanopoulos last night. Now, understand that Donald Trump's electoral strategy seems to be, aside from, the mechanical parts of suppressing votes, like literally vote suppression and disenfranchisement, et cetera, and questioning the legitimacy of the election, which is all part of that. That's the mechanical side. The sort of pure rhetorical political side, what they seem to have settled on is Joe Biden mentally incapable of being the president because of his gaffes or the fact that he's, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's a hard argument to make in a vacuum. The problem is that it's really not a vacuum. It's a choice. It's a choice between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So you can't just look at Joe Biden in a vacuum and assess, like, is he really mentally sharp enough to do this? Because you need to compare it to what? And that what is Donald Trump. And so that puts a lot of pressure on him. So moments like this on the George Stephanopoulos show or a town hall are highly problematic for Donald Trump. Otherwise it wouldn't be, but they have made this issue of every time you can't find a word that you're searching for is an indication you're unfit for the office of the presidency. So there's two problems that Trump has with this response. One is that superficial one that I've just said, but it's not superficial because in the context of his campaign, it's problematic. And the other is he's calling for the death of about 1.5 million people. Play this clip.
Go away without the vaccine? Sure, over a period of time. Sure, with time it goes many deaths, and you'll develop herd, like a herd mentality. It's going to be herd developed, and that's going to happen. That will all happen. But with the vaccine, I think it will go away very quickly.
So he's talking about a vaccine, and Stephanopoulos said, "You're going to get the vaccine." He said, "It's going to go away anyways." All you need is that herd mentality. Herd development. You need to develop a herd. Then the herd itself, of course, has a mentality, and the mentality tells it to go away.
His ability to ignore matters of mass death. Like, Stephanopoulos is like, yeah, but many people will die. And he's like, yeah, but we'll have the herd mentality.
The fact is that if herd immunity is achieved at like 70%, you'll have 2 million people die. It could be achieved at a lower amount. It could be 60%, could be 55%. And then you're talking about anywhere from like 1 million to 1.5 million people dying. Right now in this country, I would imagine we're probably close to maybe 20%, maybe probably closer to like 15%. I'm sorry, 20%, I would say in the Northeast, maybe. The rest of the country, 10 to 15%, maybe. 5 million cases that we know of. We know that some people have some like immunity, but we can't measure T cells. I guess 5 is really 1%, but I suspect it's a little bit higher. So let's call it like 5 or 10% across the country. So to get up to, even if you think it's at 40%, you're still talking about, 600,000 people dying. If you think it's at 50%, 800,000 people dying. And so on, and so on. And of course, we have a president who apparently, based on his own standards, I mean, that puts a lot of pressure on you, doesn't it, Matt? Like, what if I had to go and assess other people, other commentators, based upon their pronunciation of names or how many ums they recite during the day? That would put a lot of pressure on me.
Yeah, it's like if we made it a regular segment to find any mispronunciation of a guest on cable news.
That's right. And then look at this guy. Look at this commentator. Look how many times he says You can't take anything he takes seriously. He says so many times. That would put a lot of pressure on me.
Yeah, I'd be mad at the staffer who decided on this as the main strategy.
Couldn't you have come up with something different? Guys, mental acuity.
Can't we talk about how he's bad at golf?
Yeah, how about that? What about he's not rich? He likes to take the train. Can we say that? Train Joe, Trainee Joe. No, guess that doesn't work.
Well, did we just cross 200,000 deaths?
Yes, we did. We did, I think, yesterday.
Yeah.
Maybe it was last night. Yep. Congratulations, everybody. And there's no contemplation about it. I mean, look, to a certain extent, this is a natural phenomena, right? I mean, Donald Trump is not responsible for the pandemic. Now, there is an argument that had we left in place the entire apparatus that had been built to warn the country and to really warn the world about pandemics, right? We had people embedded in China to suss out these things that were fired. We had a member of the National Security Council who had a whole team that was sitting on the National Security Council as a way of providing some type of early warning system, obviously for the country, but for the world too. Now, it is true that Donald Trump got rid of that. It is a very tough counterfactual to assess. Would that have stopped it? But what we can do is we can look at like a country like Canada. And I think based upon their population and their deaths, and I guess granted on some level, they're a little bit more sparsely spread out. Maybe, I don't know if their concentration really is dispersed differently. But we would have something like 7,000 deaths in this country if we were consistent with what Canada's numbers are. And we have 200,000 deaths. And when you contemplate how the country changed when we lost about 3,000 people on 9/11, when you contemplate the hundreds of thousands who died because of 9/11, because of what we did, the way that we chose to react, the millions who were displaced, the incredible instability that it created, we're still feeling it 20 years out. And in 6 months, we have lost 200,000 people because the president didn't want to freak out the stock market. Somehow decided that it was most electorally advantageous to him to deny its existence. I think in other circumstances, it also was there's an opportunity to monetize this. In a way, it might be less efficient than having government respond, but it is going to provide some friends with some money. It really is. It is stunning. And it's also just I guess at one point the country just sort of like has to become a little bit callous and inured to it and just sort of, I don't know. There's a certain amount of denial that seems to be going on. I mean, and I understand it. Certainly when we were waging war in Iraq, you walk around, you'd have no idea that we were at war and how many people we were killing. You'd have no idea. So I guess in that respect, I mean, at least there's some consistency.
At least we do it to ourselves too.
Yeah. I guess that shows a certain amount of integrity, right?